Prime Minister today announced the abolition of the body that runs the health service in England in a move designed to cut bureaucracy and waiting lists. NHS England was set up in 2012 by the previous Conservative government with the aim of giving the health service greater independence. But Sir Keir Starmer today said it was overstretched, unfocused, trying to do too much and doing it badly. The move could lead to thousands of jobs being lost and comes on the day when latest data showed the intense pressures that continue to be felt by the NHS. So will this organisational shake-up improve outcomes for patients? Here's our health correspondent, Laura Bundock.
This is the end of an era for the NHS, now facing radical reorganisation. Ordered from the top.
I'm bringing management of the NHS back into democratic control by abolishing the arm's-length body NHS England. That will put the NHS back at the heart of government where it belongs.
NHS England was set up in 2012 under David Cameron. Its aim to provide the NHS independence from government.
The result, though, is this, a messy spaghetti soup of services, money and accountability. NHS England sandwiched in the middle between the government, the Department of Health and Social Care and clinical services, hospitals, GPs, care homes, with us, the patients at the end. And look at the red and green lines. There's overlap, duplication. And that, says the government, is dragging down efficiency.
What today is about is making sure that we deliver better value for taxpayers, generating hundreds of millions of pounds worth of savings by halving the size. And while I've been trying to build one team across the two organisations, actually just having one centre, one head office, much smaller, smarter, doing the things that only we can do nationally.
Here's part of the problem. Since NHS England began, look how much longer A&E waits have grown. The target is this yellow line, only 5% of people having to wait over 4 hours. It's not been met, though, in over a decade. Another priority is the elective waiting list. There are now 7.4 million treatments waiting to be carried out. It's the lowest since April 2023, but look how much it's grown overall, made worse by the pandemic.
The scrapping of NHS England surprised some, but there were signs. Several senior leaders, including Chief Executive Amanda Pritchard, recently stepped down. What now for the 13,000 people working here? Their future's uncertain. Uncertainty too from some whether the demise of NHS England will deliver.
The benefit, of course, of having NHS England there as the national commissioning body is that you have an organisation who is one step removed from the political day-to-day management of the health service, which, of course, is a big factor. And so I think the government is going to have to manage that transition period. It's a huge tanker that they are going to be seeking to turn. There will be bumps in the road.
There is a 10-year plan coming, but this a moment of major reform. For patients waiting, though, the structures and management don't matter. They just want to be seen and treated quickly. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
Well, after that announcement about a major reform to the NHS, our political editor, Beth Rigby, put this question to the Prime Minister.
You've just announced the abolition of NHS England. There's about 13,000 job cuts there. You've also talked about an ever-expanding state, signalling, I think, thousands of other job cuts across the state. You're about to announce billions of cuts to welfare, so billions in welfare savings. At your manifesto launch, you said to me, and this is a direct quote, "There will be no austerity under a Starmer government." If this isn't austerity, what is? And do you at least accept that some people will feel that this is austerity again?
Beth, there's no return to austerity. I said that to you before the election, and we're not going to austerity. I ran a public service, the prosecution service, during years of austerity, and I saw what was done in that particular case to our criminal justice system, but it's been done to our public services. And part of the problem we've got with our public services is what was done to them a decade or so ago. So we're not going down that route, and none of our plans are going down that route.
Well, our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins us live from Downing Street now. And, John, all politicians like to talk about cutting bureaucracy, but we're talking about thousands of jobs here. What are the risks for Sir Keir Starmer?
It's a very big gamble for the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. All those job losses, possibly up to 10,000, have already set the government on collision course with the trade unions in the health service. The big public sector union, Unison, says their staff have been left reeling. The FDA, that represents the senior civil servants, is unhappy too. And also some NHS managers are worried that yet more reorganisation of the NHS will cause disruption at the time when the government's trying to get those waiting lists down. Now, in the Commons, when Mr Streeting made a statement an hour after the PM's announcement, he declared that he was getting rid of the biggest quango in the world and driving the final nail into the coffin of the reforms brought in by Andrew Lansley under David Cameron's coalition government. I well remember the battle they had to get those through. There was all sorts of problems, defeats, amendments and so on. It took ages. It was such a turbulent period in Parliament that David Cameron had to pause the legislation at one point. And shortly after the bill became law, the Health and Social Care Act, Andrew Lansley was moved on to another cabinet job. It was Jeremy Hunt who took over from him. Well, today in the Commons, Mr Hunt praised Wes Streeting for his boldness. But some senior Tories claim that back under the Blair government, the NHS boss was also the permanent secretary of the Health Department, and that didn't work, it was claimed. So, big gamble.